Okay, I'll start today's class by just welcoming everyone. Sawadee Kap, Sawadee Kap. Nice to see all of you guys here this morning. Good morning. Today's class is our group learning program, where each Sunday and Wednesday I come together for our group learning program and help students to build a foundation in the path to enlightenment. Each Sunday I go chapter by chapter in this book titled Developing a Life Practice, The Path That Leads to Enlightenment. And you can actually get this book by downloading it from our website for free. You can take it and go print it. You can get printed versions here by just reimbursing us for our printing cost, or you can order it on Amazon if your country has access to Amazon. Because what this first book does is it helps to lay a really nice foundation for you in understanding the path to enlightenment. What enlightenment is where you can train your mind to get to the point where you no longer experience any discontent feelings. Your mind will be completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. You no longer experience any anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All these feelings and others are completely eliminated from the mind through training of the mind. And that's what the Buddha did throughout his life, is he figured out how to get to this enlightened mental state by himself, and then he dedicated the rest of his life to sharing those teachings to help other people figure out how to do the same thing. So you can actually train your mind through his teachings to be able to get to that point where your mind has not only eliminated discontent feelings and it's peaceful and joyful, but you'll notice there's focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory. You'll notice that your personal and professional relationships are blossoming and they're at ease because you're not being bitter and harsh and hostile in your relationships any longer. You won't even be in a bad mood by the time you get to enlightenment. All the causes and conditions that produce a bad mood have been uprooted and eliminated out of the mind. And one of the things that you need is meditation to be able to do that. So that's why I start each class with meditation, but you wouldn't be able to just meditate your way to enlightenment. You would need more than just meditation. So that's why what I do on Sundays is I walk students through this first book, helping them to be able to gain an understanding of the foundational teachings that lead to enlightenment. But then on Wednesdays, what I do is we do meditation together, and then I open up to any and all questions that you guys have. So after our meditation, I'll give you guys just a little bit of a taste of the teachings of the Buddha, and then afterwards I'm just going to open up to any and all questions that you guys have related to the teachings of the Buddha, or anything you're seeing here in Thailand, anything that you need help with in your own personal life. You'll be able to ask any and all questions that you like. So if you'd like to join for meditation, the way that we start is we start with some chanting to ease the mind into meditation. And you can see these chants on the laminated sheet over there on the cabinet. You guys can pass them around if you like. What you'll see is the chants are in Pali language. This is the original historical language that are the original teachings of the Buddha are captured in. It's called the Pali language, and this is what we chant in. But it has the English translations on there too, so you'll be able to see the English translations. The way that chanting was used during the lifetime of the Buddha is it was used in order to commit the teachings to memory. Everything he taught was oral, so once every 2 weeks, he would come together with his students and they would recite his teachings orally because they didn't have the technology to write things down, so they used it as a way to commit the teachings to memory. So whenever you're chanting, it's important to understand that this isn't a rite, a ritual, or a ceremony or worship. It's not prayer or anything like that. The way that they used chanting during his lifetime was just to commit the teachings to memory, which we don't need to chant in order to commit the teachings to memory any longer, but we still chant in order to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. So that's the reason why I chant, is to get more benefit out of the meditation. It helps to ease the mind in meditation and out of meditation. If you read the English translations, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of this, I don't think the Buddha actually created these chants himself, because a Buddha would have eliminated his ego. He wouldn't walk around with arrogance and say, here, chant these to me out of respect for me. This would be like putting yourself above people and looking down on people. So I suspect his students probably created these either during his life or after his death. Because if you learn from a teacher how to move from the anger and the frustration and all those other discontent feelings to the peace and joy, and this teacher didn't want anything from you or expect anything from you, you'd probably have a lot of respect and gratitude for that person too. Because by the time you get to enlightenment, you will never again experience any of those discontent feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. It's physically impossible for an enlightened mind to experience that. So I suspect that these chants were created by his students either during his life or after his death. So we'll use these to ease into the meditation. Once we're in the meditation, you're going to hear me providing guidance for you. I'll be guiding you during the meditation for a brief period of time, which is like teaching you how to do meditation while we're actually doing it together. Then there's going to be a period of time where it's just quiet and we're all meditating here at the temple, and anyone who's joining us online will just all be meditating together at the same time. Then after that, we're going to come out of the meditation with some more chanting. I'm sure that as we're meditating, you might hear occasional sounds here or there. You might hear some dogs barking or some birds chirping or some cars going by. You're never going to be in an environment where it's permanently quiet. It's just not possible because the universal truth of impermanence. You're going to hear sounds occasionally in a space like this. So as long as your mind isn't craving for permanent silence, when you hear a sound, you'll know that that sound is impermanent, and therefore you won't get annoyed or frustrated. But if you crave permanent silence, when you hear a sound, you'll get annoyed and you'll get frustrated. So you can eliminate that by just eliminating any craving for permanent silence. In terms of your body positioning for meditation, the Buddha taught 4 positions. He taught seated, lying, standing, and walking. And the reason why is because your body can't permanently be in the same position all the time. You're going to need different positions at different times. And as you journey on the path to enlightenment, a teacher will typically guide their students in learning all 4 positions. But since we're just getting started here today, with some of you guys, maybe it's your first time even being here or at a temple or even meditating, I'll just share with you the seated position, because this is where a lot of people start, is in the seated position, either sitting on the floor or sitting in a chair. If you're at home, you might be on a sofa or a bench or a wheelchair or something like this. You can really sit however you like. There isn't just one fixed way to sit. It's really up to you to decide for yourself what's comfortable for you. So what I'm going to share with you is just some tips that can maybe help you find something that's more and more comfortable for you. So if you're on the floor, oftentimes people will use cushions to be able to soften their seat. So you might have a cushion or more underneath your seat. This will kind of soften your seat. And then if you're sitting cross-legged, you would like your legs to just be lightly crossed. If they're real tight, this can impede the circulation and it can cause pain in the lower body. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, and that allows the circulation to flow. So feel free to consider that if you like. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it. But again, it's not about everyone doing it exactly the same way. There's other options here. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or their knees, or they like to put their palms up. Some people even rest their hands comfortably in their lap. So you can find whatever's comfortable with your hands and arms. And this goes for anybody who's sitting in a chair or a wheelchair or sofa or a bench. You can perhaps sit with your feet flat on the floor or lightly crossed at the ankles. Those are options, but you can see I'm sitting in a chair with my legs crossed, so you could sit that way as well. And then the hands and arms can go wherever you like. It's helpful if the upper body is erect with the sternum up and the shoulders back. It'll keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you were real rigid, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So by having the sternum up and the shoulders back, it'll keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. And it'll also make it easy for you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So again, I'm going to ease us into meditation with some chanting. And then I'm going to come back in with some guidance to help you. And you guys are welcome to join along if you like. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Bhutang Mahakavanhang Apiwa Teami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato สาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมมุโนสัคคะโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสานามาสติสตาตาวาปานุสนังโพโตภะคะวะติ Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath, not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหาเขวาโพตังมหาเขวันหังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาเขวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเขวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหาเขวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดัมมาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังพุทโธภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly ease your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone this morning. Welcome to everyone here at the temple. Welcome to everyone online as well. Nice to see you guys. Today is our group learning program, as I mentioned, and I'll share a bit of the teachings of the Buddha with you, and then I'll open up to any and all questions that you guys might have. But before I do that, I thought I would just share a few things to help you guys feel more comfortable here at the temple. Perhaps some of you guys, this is your first time being here. There's bathrooms in the back of the room, the very last two doors in the back. You're welcome to get up and use the restrooms at any time. Feel free to use those as you like. Outside the classroom, if you go out to the parking lot, you're going to see signs that take you around to the main temple bathroom. So if you'd like to use those, you're welcome to use those. We even have snacks and refreshments and things like that over here that our students provide. So you guys are welcome to have those as much as you like. Just feel free to help yourself to anything that's over there. So as I was mentioning at the beginning of class, the teachings of the Buddha are here to guide you to this enlightened mental state where the mind can be peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. The mind will experience the elimination of discontent feelings. So the enlightened mind has eliminated anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All these feelings and others are completely eliminated from the enlightened mind. You'll notice that there's focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory in the mind. You'll notice that your personal and professional relationships are blossoming because you're not being bitter and harsh and hostile anymore. Your relationships can be at ease. You can have harmony in all your relationships. You'll notice that you're not even in a bad mood anymore. And this is occurring through training of the mind. The Buddha discovered 10 individual pollutions in the mind. They're referred to as fetters, and these 10 fetters need to be uprooted and eliminated from the mind. And his training and his tools and his techniques that he shares with you is to help you eliminate those. The reason why they're referred to as a fetter is that during ancient times, if you were a prisoner and they would like to keep you in a certain area, they would attach a fetter around your ankle. What a fetter is a shackle and chain and a ball, and they would just keep these prisoners in this field, and this is how they would keep them confined to a certain area. So when the Buddha talks about these pollutions in the mind, he refers to them as fetters because it's keeping the mind trapped in this unenlightened state where you keep experiencing discontent feelings over and over and over again. Now, one of the things that the unenlightened mind tends to think is that other people are causing you to be angry, or other people are causing you to be frustrated or annoyed, or some other discontent feeling like this. But what you can learn through the teachings of the Buddha, and you can independently verify and see for yourself, is that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. As long as you walk around thinking that other people are causing these feelings, you'll never actually be able to eliminate them. But you can actually learn his teachings and independently verify them, and then train your mind to the point where you no longer experience this because you've uprooted these pollutions in the mind. And this meditation of breathing mindfulness meditation that we just did is one aspect of that training, but you wouldn't be able to just meditate your way to enlightenment. You need meditation. That's something that you need as part of your journey to enlightenment, but you wouldn't be able to just meditate and get to enlightenment. This is one of the biggest myths about the life story of the Buddha. People think he sat under a tree, he meditated, and then he instantly got to enlightenment. And this isn't actually true. It's gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that leads to your enlightenment. And you can see this in the original words of the Buddha. If you study his original teachings, he talks about this gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. And he says very clearly that he did not attain enlightenment all at one time. And you can know this to be true because everything you've ever done in life has been that way. Whether it's learning how to speak a certain language, or whether it's a certain job or occupation or skill that you have, it's been gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that has led to any kind of benefits in your life. And it's the same thing with enlightenment itself. So this meditation that we just did, the goal of it isn't to eliminate your thoughts. Sometimes people think that's the case because when you're focused on the breath and your mind moves off the breath, we're cutting that off and letting it go and bringing the mind back to the breath. But the goal isn't to eliminate your thoughts. As long as you're alive, you're going to have thoughts. You need those thoughts. It's going to help you to be able to accomplish certain things in life. What you're doing in this meditation is you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from your mind, and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities. The wholesome qualities that you're cultivating is mindfulness or awareness of mind, and you're cultivating concentration to be able to focus and have clarity of mind. These are two wholesome qualities that you're going to need in day-to-day life, where you can be aware of your mind, the thoughts and ideas and things that are going through your mind, certain feelings that are occurring in the mind, and you can have concentration where you can be focused and practice singleness of mind. So your mind's not bouncing around in all these different places. And now in your day-to-day life, you can have awareness of your mind and you can have concentration. But you're also training the mind to eliminate the unwholesome quality of craving, desire, attachment. This is the longing, the yearning, the way the mind chases after things. The mind holds on to things and wants things to be a certain way. It craves permanence. In the unenlightened state, if the mind gets what it wants and what it expects, you'll get happy and excited. But if you don't get what you want, you'll get angry or frustrated or sad or maybe annoyed or some other discontent feeling. Maybe you'll feel stress or anxiety. Maybe you'll feel lonely and bored. This is because the mind's not getting what it wants. It has this longing, yearning, where it's chasing after the objects of its affection. It's almost like an unquenchable thirst that the mind has, wanting satisfaction externally. It thinks like, oh, if I can just get more money, that's going to make everything better in my life. Let me just chase more money. And now you get your more money and you feel happy for a period of time, but then that fades away. Or it's like, oh, I know what I need, a new boyfriend or girlfriend. Let me get one of those. And now you might chase that for a while. And if you get that, you'll feel happy. But if you don't, you feel sad or lonely or bored. Or you're like, I know what I need, a new car or a new bicycle, a new motorbike. That's what I need. Let me chase that for a while. So the mind is trying to get satisfaction externally. It's trying to grab onto something, and it's craving this permanence, wanting things to be permanent. So if you could think back to when you had a boyfriend or girlfriend, when you guys first got together, you might have been so happy or excited. You were getting all these pleasant feelings because somebody was showing you affection. Maybe you guys were going to the movies. Maybe you're going to dinner. Maybe you were going to the park and having great conversations. You might have even been having intimate contact where you're having sex and things like this. And during that period of time, you might have been so happy and so excited when you guys first got together. But then over time, you had all these expectations. You had certain things you wanted from this person. And in some cases, they could fulfill those. In other cases, they couldn't do what it is that you wanted them to do. And then they might have had the same thing. They might have had certain wants and expectations of you. And then in some cases, you could fulfill those. In other cases, you couldn't. And then they became angry or frustrated. And at some point, you guys broke up. And now when you broke up, you might have been frustrated or angry. You might have felt lonely or bored. You might have been missing this person for a period of time. This is because your mind was holding on and it was craving permanence. It was wanting this relationship to be permanent. It wasn't your love or your care that was causing the sadness or the loneliness or the boredom or anything like that, because love is a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. That doesn't actually cause anger and sadness and frustration. What it was the mind was craving permanence. It was wanting this relationship to be permanent. And in reality, you live in an impermanent world. But the mind in the unenlightened state, with its lack of wisdom, will crave permanence. It wants things to be permanent. This relationship was always impermanent. The mind just didn't have the wisdom of that, because even if you guys were together for the rest of your life, one of you would have most likely died first. And now this relationship is impermanent. It is not permanent. So what the unenlightened mind does is it holds on and it craves this permanence. And if it gets what it wants, it gets happy and excited. But if it doesn't get what it wants, it gets these painful feelings like anger, sadness, and frustration. And what the unenlightened mind does is it falsely attributes these feelings to something external. And now the mind, with its lack of wisdom, will push this person away, or it'll push the situation away. You might even pushing people away in your life, like family members or friends or coworkers. You might have thought that they are the ones who are frustrating you. This is called aversion, where you push people away, thinking that that's going to solve your problem. Or you might have been bitter and harsh and hostile in your relationships through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. It's almost like an animal growling and roaring at another animal, trying to fear this being into doing things your way, because the mind is trying to get those cravings fulfilled, that longing, yearning. Or you might be putting your expectations on people and trying to control people and kind of convince them to do things your way. The mind and the unenlightened the mind thinks, with this lack of wisdom, is if people will just do things my way, everything will be perfect. The mind, with its ego, will think my way's the right way and everybody else is doing it the wrong way. This is the way that the mind will think in the unenlightened state. And as long as the mind is doing this with its craving, there's going to be this anger that's arising, and you'll push people away. You'll be bitter, harsh, and hostile, or you'll put your expectations on people, and now you can't live harmoniously with all beings in the world. And this is coming from the mind's craving, desire, attachment, the clinging, wanting things to be permanent. I'll give you some more examples. Say you bought a brand new car, and now when you got this brand new car, you drove it to the store, you parked it outside, you went into the store, and you came out and you saw a scratch on your car. You might get angry. You might get frustrated because you saved money for this car. It's not the scratch that's causing you to be angry. It's not the person who scratched your car. What's causing this is the mind is craving permanence. It's wanting this car to look permanently beautiful. And it'd be wonderful if nobody ever scratched our car. But that's not the world we live in. We live in an impermanent world. And when we walk through a parking lot, we aspire not to scratch anybody's car, right? That's what we try to do. But because we live in an impermanent world, this car is going to get scratched. The paint's going to fade. The upholstery is probably going to get ripped or torn at some point. And as long as our mind is craving permanence and wanting things to be a certain way, then the mind will struggle or have difficulties. You can independently verify what I'm sharing with you. There's nothing in the teachings of the Buddha that is based on belief. His teachings aren't about believing a bunch of things and then hoping something good happens when you die. Instead, you're learning now, you're examining his teachings, you're investigating his teachings. You reflect on them to independently verify whether they're true or they're false. And then you practice the teachings, integrating them into your life, training your mind and uprooting these pollutions out of the mind. So you can independently verify what I'm sharing with you is your mind is causing your own anger, your own frustration, your own agitation. And you don't have to feel guilty or shameful about this because this is every unenlightened mind is experiencing this. But you can take a recent time where you've been angry or frustrated or sad or some other discontent feeling. At that time, you might have been looking for someone else to blame for the feelings that you were having, because that's typically what the unenlightened mind will do. But now with these fresh eyes, look at this situation. What was it that you wanted? What was the mind longing, yearning for? It might have been yesterday. It might have been this morning. It might have been a week ago. Look at that situation. There was something your mind was longing, yearning. You wanted and expected something. And if you would have got it, you would have been happy. But because you didn't get it, you got angry or sad or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. You should be able to independently verify it for yourself. And where you can't do that, you let me know and I will help you. Because students have raised their hand before and they're like, David, hold on a second. I went to work the other day and my house looked wonderful. I came home from work. My wife had her craft project all over the house. And I walked in and I got frustrated. How did I cause my own frustration? My wife's the one who messed up the house. Didn't she cause me to be frustrated? The answer is no, she sure didn't, because your mind was craving permanence. You had this expectation, this want. You wanted your house to look a certain way permanently, and it just can't look that way permanently. It's impossible. And when you came home with that expectation that it was going to look a certain way permanently, and you encountered impermanence, your mind didn't like that. The mind in the unenlightened state craves permanence. Another way to say that is it does not like impermanence. It doesn't like change. So think about the different times where things have been changing in your life. That's one of the more challenging times. When you change living locations, when you change jobs, when your relationships are changing, if your salary and income is changing, things like this is the time when the unenlightened mind struggles the most, is when it's experiencing change and impermanence. Even if they're decisions you've actually made, even if you've actively decided to move from one job to the other, this was probably a really stressful time in your life, even though you decided it yourself, but the mind just doesn't like impermanence. It doesn't like change. So this meditation that we were just doing, the breathing mindfulness meditation, it's training your mind to let go, let go. Let go. So we're not eliminating the thoughts. So if you think back to that boyfriend or girlfriend, when you guys broke up, you might have really struggled for a period of time after the relationship where the mind was holding on. You might have felt bored or lonely or angry or frustrated. But at some point you were like, you know what? If he wants to be with someone else, so be it. And you let go. Or if she wants to move to another part of the world, so be it. And you just let go. And that's where your peace and your joy came back. And you stopped missing this person. You stopped longing, yearning to be with this person again, that your mind let go. And that's where you regained your peacefulness. So what we're doing in this meditation, we're focused on the breath and the mind's moving off the breath. You're training your mind to let go of that thought and bring the mind back to the breath. It's kind of like going to the gym where you're exercising and you're training your body to exercise and be really strong. That's what we're doing in meditation, is you're cutting off everything and anything that comes up, not because you're trying to eliminate your thoughts, because again, you can't do that. But what you're doing is you're training your mind to let go, let go, let go, let go. So now in daily life, when you go out and about in your day-to-day life and you're noticing the anger arising, because it's going to arise as a bodily sensation. You're going to feel tingling in the body, tightening in the chest, tightening in the throat. You're going to feel heat in your face, pressure in your skull. You're going to notice this anger starting to arise. You can cut it off and let it go if you've been training your mind in meditation regularly. So by training your mind in meditation to cut off anything and everything in your meditation, then in day-to-day life, you just cut off the unwholesome things. If you notice anger is arising, cut it off and let it go. If you feel like you want to punch your boss in the face, cut it off and let it go. You know that's going to produce unwholesome results for you. But if you're interested in taking your mom out to lunch or dinner, you don't have to cut that off. That's a wholesome thing. That's wise. That's generosity. So take your mom to dinner. So you're training in one way in meditation where you're cutting off everything and anything, but then in day-to-day life, you're only cutting off the unwholesome thoughts that are coming up. Those anger, the sadness, the frustration. You're not suppressing your feelings. That's not what you're doing here. You're actually cutting it off before it becomes a feeling. You're cutting it off as a bodily sensation. So you're rewiring the mind to no longer form its inner feelings based on some condition. So if somebody wakes up and they see it's sunny outside in the unenlightened state, they'll get really happy and excited that it's sunny outside. And then they might go take a shower, and then you come out and you see it's raining, and now you'll be frustrated or angry or annoyed. This is how you can see that it's not your mom and dad or brothers and sisters that are causing you to be angry, because they're not even involved. It's just the sun. The mind is craving permanence. It wants the sun to be permanent. And now when it sees the rain, it gets frustrated or annoyed or agitated. Or maybe you look at your bank account and you get so happy and excited. Wow, look at all that money. But then you have to spend your money and your bank account goes down, and now you're frustrated or annoyed, right? Nobody's even involved. There's not even a person involved. This is one of the ways you can see that your mind is causing these feelings itself. But if you continue to go around thinking that it's other people who are causing your feelings, you'll never actually be able to eliminate the anger and the sadness and the frustration. So the Buddha taught this path to be able to guide you in training your mind and uprooting the causes and conditions that are producing these feelings that are conditional, that these feelings arise, they change, and they fade away. And you can get to a permanent mental state where your mind is always joyful, it's always happy, it's uplifted. It doesn't arise, it doesn't change, and it doesn't fade away. The mind is peaceful and calm. But you can't do that if you don't understand what's causing these problems to then be able to eliminate them. Because an enlightened being, when they wake up in the morning, they're already happy before they even see that it's sunny outside. They're already happy. And now they see it's sunny outside. Oh, sweet. It's sunny. Let's go on a hike. Let's call my friends. We'll go to this trail. We'll go hiking. We've been interested to go to this trail for a while. Let's go hiking. And now they go take a shower and you come out and it's raining. It's like, okay, well, it's raining, so I guess I can't go hiking. Maybe I'll stay home and read a book, or maybe I'll go to the mall and go to the movies, or maybe I'll invite my friends over and we can have dinner. No need to be angry or frustrated or annoyed just because of the weather change, or because your bank account's changing, or a relationship has ended. That's not your love that's causing that. So like when grandma and grandpa and mom or dad or brothers or sisters have died in your life, that grief and that sadness that you experience, that's not your love. That's the craving, desire, attachment. The love is the genuine interest in seeing this being be well. The thing that's causing the sorrow and the grief is the mind's craving permanence. It's wanting grandma and grandpa to be permanent. It's wanting mom and dad to be permanent. The mind is longing, yearning for this, not realizing that because they were born, they have to die. And the same thing is happening like at a wedding. If you've ever been to a wedding and either you were grieving or the people around you were grieving, this is a wonderful time. Someone's going off into the world with another person. The mind's craving permanence here. Mom and dad, brothers and sisters might be crying when someone's going off into the world. It's like, hold on, that's my brother. He belongs to me. Or that's my sister. How dare you take away my sister and go off into the world? She's mine, right? The mind is craving this permanence. So people grieve at weddings because this person's going off and the mind's experiencing this impermanence. Or if you could think back to when you got dropped off at university, or maybe as a child, when you're dropped off in grade school, or you've seen children get dropped off, like when you're maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, they're getting dropped off at school at the first time. Oh boy, Kids are crying and crying and crying. It's because they wanted mom and dad to be permanent. They were holding on to mom and dad. They didn't realize mom and dad are impermanent. They're going to go off into the world and they're going to come back, right? But the mind craving mom and dad to be permanent, the mind has this crying, this discontentedness. So it's not other people that is causing the mind to experience these feelings. It's the craving, the desire, the longing, the yearning, the wanting things to be a certain way. But also, if you were all the way over here on the other side, where you could care less about what's going on in the world and you were lazy and lethargic and dull, that's not going to create peacefulness either. So the Buddha invites you to the middle way, where you can pursue things as a goal, as an objective or interest. And you can gradually work towards these goals, objectives, and interests rather than chasing after them and forming your inner feelings on whether you get that thing or not, or being all the way over here where you could care less and you're not doing anything in the world. In either one of those scenarios, you're not going to be peaceful and joyful. But you can come to the middle. You can train your mind to come to the middle, where you can learn to pursue things as a goal, objective, or interest. And then you can get to this enlightened mental state with these benefits that I talked about, especially where you can have harmonious relationships. Because having broken relationships over and over and over and over again, it's not fun, right? It's not enjoyable. You can get to the point where you don't experience that, where you can have harmonious relationships all throughout your life. But it would be very challenging to do that without training your mind, because you need to eliminate the pollutions that the Buddha discovered. So this is what I would just kind of stop here and share this with you guys. As I mentioned, just a little bit of a taste of the teachings of the Buddha for you. But what I'm going to do is just open up to any and all questions that you guys have, whether you're here at the temple or you're online. You guys can ask any and all questions that you like about something that I've shared, something that you've come across in your reading, or that you've seen here in Thailand with the temples, or anything else. If you have any personal challenges in your life, you can ask questions about those, and I can share guidance from the Buddha to be able to help you guys. If you would like to ask questions here at the temple, we have microphones in the white bowl here in front of the camera. Just get a microphone. We can pass them around. We've got plenty of microphones. You press the gray button, you'll see the lights come on, and then you hold it up to your chin, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online. If you speak here at the temple without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then you can keep these microphones with you, because you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question, and you can just share the microphone. For those of you guys online, whether you're in Facebook, YouTube, or in Zoom, you can ask questions by putting that into the comment section, and I'll be able to see that. Or if you're in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and then you can ask any and all questions that you like. So is there anyone here or anyone online that would like to ask questions? Let's see if we have any questions online. Sometimes people are shy. That's the unenlightened mind. I don't want other people to know what I'm thinking or judge me. No questions? If you guys don't have any questions, I'll just end class. Okay, let me just see. Oh, what does this say? Thank you for sharing. It answered my question these days. Thank you. You're welcome. Nice to help you. Okay, I don't see any questions. So, oh, you have a question? Yes, ma'am. If you can get a microphone here, you're going to break the ice, and maybe there's going to be like 3, 4, 5 questions after you. That's usually what happens. Someone's got to break the ice.
Hi.
Hello?
I have a question. For me, I think meditation for me is like it can help me to control my feelings. Like, yeah, just control. Like, for example, if I got anger or something, sometimes I can realize, oh, I'm getting angry, so I can control it. Okay, let it go. But most of the time, I think in the daily life, when someone make me feel anger, I just like still at the same. Like if I didn't do meditation for a long time, I will just express my feelings. I can't control it anymore, so I don't know. I don't know like how I can realize it again. So it's like I can only control my feelings if I did meditation every day. I just stopped meditation, I can't do it again. So I was confusing because I think it's like this is a tool. If I do use it, I can't control my feelings. I just want to know like how I can get more peace.
Sure. Let me help you. I'm switching over here to a visual aid. Oops, there we go. Now let's go back here. This will probably be a better place. Okay, so you're going to need to learn the core central teaching of the Buddha. It's called the Eightfold Path, and it starts with right view, because right now you don't have right view. What you just said is you shared that when other people make you angry, other people aren't making you angry. That's the problem with the unenlightened mind, is it has what's called wrong view. The mind doesn't have the wisdom to understand that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. That when your mind is wanting, expecting, longing, yearning for something, when you get what you want, you get happy or excited. But when you don't get what you want, you get those painful feelings like anger, sadness, or frustration. So as long as the mind doesn't understand and hasn't independently verified something called the Four Noble Truths, which is back here, if it hasn't learned the Four Noble Truths and you haven't independently verified that your own mind is causing these feelings, then you'll continue to have problems. So the meditation is there for you to help you. And right now you're saying that it's helping you to reduce certain feelings. But if you train in the entire Eightfold Path and you train your mind in its entirety, you'll completely eliminate your anger and your sadness and frustration, the stress and anxiety and all those other feelings, where your mind can just be uplifted and bright and radiant all the time. But it starts with right view. You need to be able to start at the very beginning of this path. And what I do is I walk students through this. I actually have a retreat coming up starting on Sunday. If those of you guys are going to be here in Thailand, you could attend any part of that you like. It starts on Sunday and it goes all the way through Friday, where you guys can come and you can learn the teachings to be able to help you get started on the path to enlightenment. This retreat, it's available at no cost. It's going to be here at the temple starting at 3 o'clock on Sunday. And then I also have other classes and courses and programs. And if you're not going to be here, I live stream it. So you can attend live no matter where you are in the world. And I also gets recorded. So, and I've taught this teaching many, many times. So you're going to need to gradually learn each one of these steps through the words of the Buddha in order to be able to understand how to train your mind to eradicate the pollutions that are causing these discontent feelings. Namely, it's craving, desire, attachment. It's the longing or yearning that the mind has. This is what's causing the mind to experience the anger and the frustration and all those other discontent feelings.
Okay, thank you.
So I can't teach you in just 3 minutes how to eliminate your anger, right? But just know that there's an entire path here for you. The thing that's going to target your anger the most is it's called loving kindness meditation and practicing loving kindness in your day-to-day life, because it's the exact opposite of anger. When your mind's angry, you think that something external is causing it. This is what the mind firmly believes in the unenlightened state. But with belief, you don't know what's true or false because the mind's just believing it. What you would like to do is get to wisdom to be able to independently verify what's causing these feelings so that then you can eliminate them. And you're going to need the entire path, but you'll learn, if you decide to start with this first book, you'll be able to learn that it's loving kindness meditation and loving kindness that's really going to target this, because it's the exact opposite of the anger, the hatred, and the ill will. Loving kindness is where you have a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, but it really starts with this right view that you really have got to understand that other people aren't causing you to be upset or angry. But this is a common thing that the unenlightened mind firmly believes, that other people are causing you to be upset.
Yeah, thank you. But I think my anger is just from I don't want to be controlling. So if someone says something like makes me feel like controlling, I will get anger. It's not well. It's like.
But they are controlling you.
Yeah, I think it's not from like not love someone. It's from my scary. Like I'm scared to be controlled. So when I have the feeling like be controlled, I will get anger.
So you have a craving for other people to treat you a certain way.
Kind of.
And you want everybody in the world to treat you a particular way.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
So there's 8 billion people in the world. You're going to have a massive training program to train people how to treat you. And they're going to have to all agree that that's true, right? So you can do that, or you can train your mind to understand impermanence, that some people are going to be polite, kind, friendly, and respectful, and they're not going to put their expectations on you and try to control you. But other people, they're struggling in the world, and they're going to be impolite, unkind, unfriendly, and disrespectful, and they're going to try to put their expectations on you. But you don't have to adopt their expectations. When someone's trying to put their expectations on you, it just goes in one ear and out the other. It's like water, right? Just let it go. You don't have to grab onto it. But this is something your mind is struggling with because you haven't learned how to let go. And this is what the unenlightened mind does, is it doesn't know how to let go. So like your parents are trying to tell you maybe and put expectations on you, get really angry, or like a friend or a boss. And you just got to learn how to identify that's their expectations. It doesn't affect me. And my goal in this life is not to live up to other people's expectations. You need to be able to understand that that's not your goal. If people are putting expectations on you, what that is that's their cravings, desires, attachments, and they think that they're going to get to happiness by controlling you. Because remember what I mentioned is that the unenlightened mind either pushes people away, it's bitter, harsh, and hostile, or it puts its expectations on people and tries to control people. So people in your life think that they're going to get happiness by controlling you. And you need to be able to see, nope, that's their expectation. I don't need to do that. I'll tell you how one of the ways I learned this. When I was 17 years old, I was hanging out with a lot of guy friends, and my family came to me and they're like, David, you hang out with your guy friends way too much. You need to get a girlfriend. And I thought about it for a while, a couple of months. I was like, all right, I'm going to go get a girlfriend. So I went and got a girlfriend. And then I had a girlfriend, and I was hanging out with her for a few months. And then my family comes to me and they said, David, you're hanging out with your girlfriend too much. You need to hang out with us. I was like, man, you can't make these people happy, right? They keep wanting it a different way. So people are going to constantly be trying to tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing in your life, but you need to be able to understand that that's their expectations. They're living their life. They might try to tell you what you should or shouldn't do, but you don't have to adopt it as your expectation. So at the age of 17, I realized I'm not going to try to follow my family's expectations anymore. And life just got better and better and better from that point forward, because I was living life the way that I was interested in living it, instead of trying to fulfill somebody else's expectation. Right. Gary, you have a question?
Yeah. So I always have this expectation of myself that I'm going to meditate X amount of times per day and all that. Mm-hmm. But I always find a reason to avoid it, mm-hmm. or not do it. And so, what's your advice to getting over that?
Yeah, this is what's called complacency, where the mind becomes dull and lethargic. It's complacent. It just stays in the darkness. This is also from craving, desire, attachment. The mind's holding on. It may be holding on to TV or the internet or social media or YouTube, or it's holding on to some other thing. It's holding on to this temporary pleasure rather than do this thing that's actually going to lead to your permanent joy. So you need to arise what's called the enlightenment factor of energy. The enlightenment factor of energy is where you have a willingness to do something. You have enthusiasm. You have a vigor, ambition. That's what you need to be able to arise in your mind. So when you see your mind is dull and lethargic, you need to do just the opposite. You need to apply the effort to lift it up. There's no magic button that you can press. You need to apply effort and be like, the mind's not in the middle. It's in this dullness, this lethargic condition. It's complacent. Let me lift it up and bring it to the middle and actively do this. So even if you're doing meditation for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes a day, obviously you would like to build up to 2 or 3 sessions for 30 minutes or more. That's the ultimate goal. but that's going to take 6 months, a year, 2 years to do it. But even if you're at 5 minutes a session or 10 minutes a session, and that's where you're at now, just do that and then gradually expand it. It's kind of like when we were children and we used to have our parents constantly tell us, go take a shower, go brush your teeth. They had to constantly tell us to do these things for many years. But by the age of 10 or 12, we realized like, I kind of like feeling fresh. This is kind of nice. I think I'm going to go brush my teeth myself, or I think I'm going to go take a shower myself. My parents don't have to tell me anymore, right? Well, your parents aren't around to tell you to go meditate anymore. So you've got to arise this energy and effort in your own mind to do this. But eventually you're going to see enough benefits with it, even if it's just 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a session. Eventually you're going to see enough benefits where you're like, I kind of like it when my mind's more calm. I like it when it's peaceful. I like when it's concentrated. I like when I can talk to people nicely and friendly and respectfully, and I have more awareness of my mind. I like this feeling. What you'll notice is that when you get up to a certain point of your meditation, you'll experience those qualities. And when you're not meditating, you're not going to experience those qualities, and you're going to prefer to have this benefit. And then you'll have more of a tendency to actually do it. But you've got to arise enough effort and energy to just start doing it and walking down that path, because mom and dad aren't there to push you along anymore. There's a gentleman behind you. While you guys are passing the mics around, I'm going to take some questions here online. Looks like Fernando has a question. Go ahead, sir. You have to unmute. There you
go. Yes, hello?
Yes.
So I was wondering, my girlfriend, right? I'm trying to follow this like ruling, you know what I'm saying? She really wants it to put it in me. I just really don't want to do it. You get what I'm saying?
No, I'm not. I don't understand. Can you share some more? Oh, I see. These are people that are like to... There's people that come into Zoom and try to like do silly stuff. Okay, let me see if this person is actually a legitimate student. Go ahead, John.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I sure can.
I just want to say, Jesus is king.
Okay. There's a whole bunch of people that just came into the Zoom. They tend to try to crash the Zoom every once in a while. So let's go back here, gentlemen. Yes, sir.
You've talked a lot about anger and letting go of anger, which I think is pretty universally agreeable. But other emotions that might still be from something changing around you, like sadness or nostalgia or melancholy, those can be good, I feel like, sometimes, because maybe they help you reflect, learn, change. I guess, how do you reconcile that? Because you might be sad about someone passing or a breakup, and it's still, an emotion coming from a changing world.
Yeah, so the unenlightened mind will sometimes see these discontent feelings as being beneficial, but the more you look at it and the more you investigate it, you'll see that there is no benefit in being sad. There's nothing there that is helping you. It's actually causing the mind to have difficulties and struggles. And now when you're trying to make decisions in your day-to-day life with the mind shaken up with these discontent feelings, you're not going to be able to make wise decisions that is producing wholesome results. So while right now you might think of sadness as somehow beneficial, when you look at it more and more clearly, when you get rid of the sadness, when you get rid of the other feelings that you mentioned, your mind can just always be uplifted and bright and radiant. You don't need sadness to be able to reflect. You can train your mind to look at the world, make wise decisions, and where you're having challenges to do that, you can reflect and look inward. You can be introspective, but without training of the mind's not able to do that. So you don't need to have these discontent feelings to be able to encourage any kind of positive qualities in your own mind. You can train your mind to be able to acquire those same qualities. Any other questions? Yes, sir. We have mics around.
How do you become self-aware of pollutions that are indoctrinated by systems that are embedded as self-conscious programs that are not in alignment with alignment? If these programs feel right as they're normal from birth.
Can you give me an example of that?
Just in general, from like a Western society, like we get indoctrinated into certain systems, and then we feel that these are just normal to be that way, and then later we become aware of certain things.
Like what kind of systems are you talking about?
Just in general, how we treat people or how we see people, the differences between each other. So it just becomes so ingrained in us from birth that we naturally act that way. And then
Okay, so let me explain how the mind experiences what it experiences starting from birth, because it's not the outside world that is affecting your mind. It's the inner world. When we're in our mom's womb, we're a individual baby that has what's called craving, this longing, yearning that we're talking about, this craving for permanence. But the mind also has what's is referred to as ignorance, or unknowing of true reality, or lack of wisdom. This word ignorance isn't really the best word, because that's kind of like a degrading and diminishing word. I prefer to use the unknowing of true reality, or the lack of wisdom, or confusion, or misunderstanding. This is what the baby in the womb has. It has this craving for permanence, and then there's this lack of wisdom of how the world functions, the natural laws of existence. So now when the baby is in the womb, hey, everything's great. The baby's hanging out, having a good time. It's got this whole place to itself. It's got food coming in on the umbilical cord. It's like, hey, this is a good place. But then eventually impermanence comes along, and now we get pushed out into the world, or we have surgery that brings us into the world. And right away, we cry. We're discontent from the very beginning when we first come out into the world, because we've experienced that first little bit of impermanence, and our mind was craving that permanence in our mom's womb. And one of the things they do to quiet a baby is they will wrap it up in a real tight bundle, so it kind of replicates being in the womb of the mom, where the baby feels somewhat better because it's experiencing this similar experience. So now, as we age, we have these cravings, we have these desires, we have this longing, yearning. For example, when we were growing up, we probably really wanted chocolate and ice cream, right? We were longing, yearning for this chocolate and ice cream. And we were like, Mommy, Daddy, can I have chocolate and ice cream? And they're like, yeah, here you go. Here's some chocolate and ice cream. We were like, you're the best Mommy and Daddy ever. Oh, this is so great. We're so happy because we got our cravings fulfilled. But then over time, there were situations where we got our chocolate and ice cream, and then there were times where Mom and Dad said, no, you can't have chocolate and ice cream. You're the worst Mommy and Daddy ever. Because of the mind's craving, now when it got what it wanted, it was happy and excited. But when it didn't get what it wanted, it got angry or sad or frustrated. Because when we came out of our mom's womb and we went into the nursery, at the hospital, we didn't have anger. We didn't have hatred. We didn't have judgment. We didn't judge other babies and we're like, my crib's better than your crib, right? Or we didn't go in the nursery hating other babies. But because of our cravings and wanting things to be a certain way, we acquired these pollutions over time. That we wanted that chocolate and ice cream to be permanent. Because of our ignorance or unknowing of true reality, we didn't realize that this ice cream and chocolate is impermanent. And now we acquired this ill will, this anger, this hatred, this deeply rooted container in the mind that is referred to as a mental object. And now sitting right here, you're not angry, you're not frustrated. But if someone triggers one of your cravings and one of your cravings come up, now your craving is going to get triggered, and now your anger and hostility or bitterness or harshness is going to come up. But when you eradicate this and you purify your mind and you get all of this out of your mind, you can be peaceful and joyful all the time because you're not craving permanence. You're not craving for every student to be polite, kind, friendly, or respectful, right? If you had a craving for every student to be polite, kind, friendly, and respectful, when somebody functions like this, you'd be irritated or annoyed. But if you understand impermanence, that yeah, the vast majority of students are going to be polite, kind, friendly, and respectful, but there's going to be occasional situations where people come in and function in other ways. So it's not the outside world that's causing your mind to experience anything specific. It's the inner world that your mind has accumulated what's called conditioning. Your mind's been conditioned. So the mind has been conditioned to think a certain way, to act a certain way. Like for me, I grew up in a very hostile environment. My family, I remember going to like a restaurant like McDonald's. I grew up in the USA. I remember one time that they forgot our French fries, and my mom just started screaming and yelling at the cashier to get her French fries. And I stood there just looking at my mom like, what is going on here, right? So this is what I learned growing up, is that when someone doesn't do what you want them to do, you scream and yell at them and fear them into doing things your way. When in reality, all she had to do was say, excuse me, ma'am, I noticed that I think I ordered French fries, but I don't see them on the tray. Did I not order French fries? Or, can we talk about this, or whatever, however she's going to do it based on her personality or what have you. But yelling and hollering and screaming, this is what we grow up with, perhaps, with people around us. And now our mind gets conditioned this way. We conform to this, but it is our own personal choice to continue to do those things, because we can choose to do something different if we choose. But you need wisdom to be able to understand what is the way would be wise for us to function in the world as better and better human beings. Because when we grow up in hostile and bitter environments, our mind will tend to adopt that and conform to that. But that's a choice that we're making. We can eliminate that from our mind, and we can choose to be polite, kind, friendly, respectful to everyone around us. And we don't have to be influenced by the outside world. But if the mind lacks wisdom, that's part of what this path is to cultivate wisdom. If we lack wisdom, we will tend to adopt other people's thinking, and then we go through world and we struggle. But when you cultivate wisdom about the wise way to conduct oneself in the world, now you can experience improvement in your day-to-day life, because you're now experiencing better and better wisdom in your mind, and you're making wiser and wiser choices to interact with people in wise ways. So it's not the outside world that's causing these difficulties. And the more the mind thinks that way, you'll never actually solve your problems, because it's like you're stuck, right? Because sometimes people think it's good luck or bad luck or destiny or fate, or maybe they think it's God that's controlling you or something like this. And as long as the mind is thinking that way, that means you're stuck. You're a robot. You can't fix anything. If it's destiny or fate or good luck or bad luck, or if it's this supreme being that's controlling you, or if it's the outside world that is controlling you, you're stuck, right? But you can get liberated from this and realize that what you're experiencing in life is a result of your decisions, not other people's decisions. And now, if there's anything that you don't particularly care for in your life, all you need to do is cultivate wisdom, make different decisions, and you will experience different results, right? You cultivate wisdom, make different decisions, and you will experience different results. And that's what the teachings of the Buddha are here for you to do, is that you can cultivate wisdom about how your mind functions and about how the world functions around you. And now you can purify your mind, you can make wiser and wiser decisions, and now you can experience nothing but peace and joy. And you'll see that it's not the outside world, because if it was the outside world that was causing these feelings, the Buddha would have never got to enlightenment. He would have never been able to get to enlightenment, because he would have had to train the whole world to do things his way. But that's not what he did. He trained his own mind. So you can experience this enlightened mental state the more you learn and grow and develop and practice. Mm-hmm. Cecile, you have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some impermanence in the mics. See, the Buddhist teachings apply to everything, even modern technology. His teachings are timeless.
Okay. What's the root of attachment? Why is the mind so polluted?
It comes from the ignorance or the unknowing of true reality. That's the number one thing that is the domino effect that's leading to all these other things. Because the mind lacks wisdom about the natural laws of existence and how the world truly functions, the mind struggles and has difficulties in the world. If it wasn't for ignorance, craving and anger wouldn't actually exist in the mind. And that's why on the path to enlightenment, your ultimate goal is to cultivate wisdom. You're never interested in believing the teachings of the Buddha. There's not a bunch of beliefs. There's not a bunch of rules and commandments. It's you as an independent practitioner on the journey to be able to cultivate wisdom. And what a teacher is doing for you is we're like a tour guide. We're pointing out for you the things that you need to learn. We're providing the resources for you to help you be able to learn, but you need to be able to do the work to be able to learn, investigate and examine the teachings, reflect on them to independently verify them, and then practice them, integrating them into your life. And that's where you're going to cultivate wisdom. And now that's going to transform the ignorance, where you can understand what craving and anger is, and you can uproot it and eliminate it out of the mind, along with the other pollutions. But these are how we talk about them from a high level.
Okay. And so you're married, right? So I would like to ask if you think marriage is like a spiritual practice, and if so, how is your marriage has helped you to grow?
Okay, so sometimes we like to assign like a lot of stuff like that to particular things. In my opinion, a marriage is a commitment between two people to choose to work through life together and support each other in their journey. You know, this term we have of life partner, it's an excellent term to talk about what it is that you're really doing in a marriage, is you're becoming a partner with someone for life. And in some cases, you make unwise decisions and you need to end that relationship, get a divorce, and move on to another one. But eventually, if you're doing your work to cultivate wisdom, you can find a life partner that you guys are both committed and loyal and trustworthy with each other. You're faithful to each other. And now you support and encourage each other in life and contribute to each other's life. It's not a spiritual practice. It's a commitment. It's an agreement that, hey, we're so fond of each other and we care about each other so much that we're going to share our life together, and we're going to support and encourage each other and help each other through this life. And my relationship with my wife has been highly important in my growth as an individual, because my wife has contributed things to my life that I wouldn't have been able to acquire otherwise. You know, observing her and the way she functions in the world, certain conversations that we've had, certain things that I've taught her that have helped me to solidify what I thought I knew about certain things, being able to teach her, being able to care for her, learning how to love a woman, because when I grew up, I didn't have a lot of love between my mom and I. There was a lot of hostility and resentment. So I needed to learn how to love a woman, right? And I did this with my grandmother, but also with my wife. It really helped me to learn how to do that, helped me to learn how to communicate. But these are all decisions that I made, right? She didn't come to me and start teaching me things. It was just by being in this relationship and being committed to it, I was able to work through all these challenges and get to a point where now I can have harmonious relationships with everybody. So I don't think of it as part of my spiritual practice or anything like that, but it was a choice that I made. And not everybody's going to have a life partner. Some people are going to go through life and actually get to enlightenment as a single person, and that's completely fine too. But you can be married and even have children and ultimately get to enlightenment if that's what you choose. But you can also do it as a single person as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Have a question, sir? Yeah. Oh, ma'am. Yeah. You guys, up to you. I see all the mics. I don't know who's first or second.
So my parents have been texting me nonstop these days to tell me that Thailand is very dangerous because they are seeing all the news in China. But I'm here. I know it's safe and it's a nice place and everyone is so kind. But they just don't believe me, and they are attached to the idea that Thailand is very dangerous, and they are texting me every day to ask me to go back to China. And I know it's because they are attached to the idea and they are craving me to behave to satisfy them. But it's kind of difficult to ignore them because they are so worried. And
Okay. So what's happening here is your parents have a perception. What a perception is like your views and opinions about the world that may or may not even be true. They seem to be true, but you don't really know. It's kind of like an assumption. And what your parents are doing is they're clinging to their perception of how they think that Thailand is. And they're clinging to this. And then, of course, they're also attached to you. They're clinging to you. They want you to be permanently safe and permanently in a certain way, right? So now, because they're clinging to their perception about Thailand, they're clinging to you, they're now putting their expectations on you. They're feeling painful feelings because they think their daughter is in danger, right? It's because they're attached to you. They want you to be permanently safe. They're not understanding impermanence, and they think the way to solve their painful feeling is to get daughter to come home. But that's not actually going to solve their painful feelings. What's going to solve their painful feelings is letting go of their attachment and realize that their daughter is an adult. She can travel around the world. She will make wise decisions. And that's part of being a parent, is helping your child to gain enough wisdom that they can go out into the world. They can fly out of the nest and they can be a big bird, right? They can be a big girl, big boy, right? But the parents are still holding on to you. And they're wanting you to be a certain way permanently. So that's why they're struggling and having difficulties. But you can't fix your parents. That they have to be able to train their own mind. What's causing you the difficulties is your attachment to your parents. You want your parents to be a certain way permanently, and you're having difficulties ignoring them because your mind is craving and longing, yearning, and holding on. And if they still provide you financial support or other things like this will cause your mind to hold on even tighter. So you need to get to the point where, okay, they're going to send you messages or they're going to call you, but you need to not pick up the phone. You need to not answer the messages. Put longer and longer periods of time between when you're answering messages, because it's going to help your mind to let go of your craving, desire, attachment, and it's going to help their mind too. Whereas if mom or dad sends you a message and you answer right away, it just allows their mind to continue to hold on. So even if you see the message come in, you're not being rude, you're not being disrespectful, you're just introducing some impermanence and creating more and more space and more distance between when you reply to your messages. So right now, if you're replying every 5 or 10 minutes, now start letting it go an hour or two. And then you do that for a little bit, and then have it go 5 or 6 hours, and then have it go a day, or a whole day where you don't reply to their messages, and then even spread it out even further than that, so that it allows their mind to let go. They're going to get more and more angry, but eventually their mind's going to have to let it go, because they're not going to walk around and be frustrated and angry all day. Eventually their mind's going to let go, and you're creating an environment which allows their mind to let go. And it's also helping your mind to let go, where you understand that their happiness is based on their decisions. It's not based on your decisions. They think that their happiness is based on you, but that's the craving, desire, attachment. That's the lack of wisdom. You can understand the truth that they are responsible for their own happiness. And by them letting go of their attachment to you, this is what's going to help them to become more and more happy, more and more peaceful, more joyful. But they don't understand that because they don't have the wisdom of it. But it sounds like you have a bit of the wisdom. So just distance yourself more and more from these messages, and that's going to be really helpful for your mind and their mind too. You're not going to see, instant change, but gradual training, gradual practice, gradual progress, your mind will become more peaceful and their mind will become more peaceful.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello. Is enlightenment permanent? Because you're saying things in life aren't permanent.
Yeah, enlightenment is a permanent mental state. There's something called unconditioned objects, and then there's something called conditional objects. What a conditional object is something that arises, changes, and fades away. And anything you can see, hear, smell, taste, anything that comes in contact with the body, or any thoughts or ideas that go through the mind, these are all conditional objects. They arise, change, and fade away. Like the weather is constantly changing. This physical body is constantly changing. Your relationships are constantly changing. Your bank account's constantly changing. You go on and on and on. Like the wood planks in the floor of the temple, you see they're different size, different color, different shape, different texture. This is all impermanent. So everything you see, hear, smell, taste, that comes in contact with the body, or any thoughts or ideas that go through the mind, these are all impermanent because they're conditional objects. They arise, they change, and they fade away. But then there's something called unconditional objects. They don't arise, they don't change, and they don't fade away. The natural laws of existence that the Buddha taught, these are unconditioned. They don't change. That's why the Buddha's teachings are timeless. What he taught 2,500 years ago is just as applicable today as it was 2,500 years ago, because these natural laws haven't changed. And then the enlightened mental state is also unconditioned. What's causing the anger and the sadness and all those other discontent feelings is conditions. There's certain conditions in your mind that are causing the mind to experience these feelings. When you get to enlightenment, you've purified your mind of those causes and conditions so that now the mind is unconditioned. And now with the mind being unconditioned or purified, now there's no conditions in the mind that cause it to be angry or frustrated or sad. So by the time you get to enlightenment, it's an unconditioned mental state. So one of the things that people misquote the Buddha as is they think that the Buddha said everything is impermanent, but he didn't actually say everything is impermanent. He said all conditioned objects are impermanent. And then he taught about what's called unconditional objects. And enlightenment is one of those, and the natural laws themselves is one of those. It's kind of like love. You could probably understand this through love. Like sometimes people misunderstand love. They think that I met this person, maybe they're financially stable, maybe they're intellectually attractive, maybe there's other things about them that they might really like about their career or their appearance or their looks, and now they spend time with this person. This person does a whole bunch of things that they like, and now you might say after a month or two, I've fallen in love with you, right? And now I love you, therefore I want you to be with me. And now you go through a period of time, right? Because I love you, I want you to be with me, you make me happy. Because you make me happy, I want you to be with me. So now you go through a period of time, and then all of a sudden they stop doing what you want, and you say, I don't love you anymore. I've lost my love. We need to break up. Well, this wasn't actually love. There might have been love in there, but that's not the love. You can't fall in love and out of love with people. What's really happening is at the beginning of the relationship, you were meeting my expectations, and now I would like you to be in a relationship with me because I'm happy when you're with me. But when you're away from me, I don't feel happy. That's craving, desire, attachment. That's my feelings are attached to you. And I can only be happy if you're with me. So we might call this conditional love. Even though there's no such thing as conditional love, we might call this conditional love. That if you do what I want, if you do what I expect, I will say I love you. And I will act like I love you. And I will function like I love you. But when you stop doing what I want you to do, I will stop loving you. This isn't actually love, but this is, we might refer to it as conditional love. There's got to be some conditions met, and then I will say I love you. What you would like to get to is what's called unconditional love, where I just love you as you are. I don't want anything from you. I don't expect anything from you. I just love you as you are. And because I love you, I would like to see you be well. And I'm here to support you and encourage you, but I don't want anything from you. So this is unconditional love. You didn't earn my love, so therefore there's nothing you can do for me to fall out of love with you. So I love you. I love everybody. I love you as you are. And I'm here to help you and encourage you and support you, but I don't want anything from you. I just love you as you are, right? So I don't have any expectations of you. I didn't fall in love with you. You didn't do anything to earn my love. So therefore, there's nothing you can do for me to stop loving you. So even though my mom's not alive, if you murdered my mom, I can still love you, which means I have a genuine interest in seeing you be well. I disagree with the choices and decisions that you made in order to murder, whether it was my mom or anybody else. I disagree with that choice or decision, but you as a person, I can still love you. I can still have a genuine interest in seeing you be well. So even if you called me from jail and said, hey, David, I really would like to talk to you. I've murdered somebody. I would say, okay, I'll come talk to you, right? Because I'm not judging you. I'm not looking down on this person. I understand the decision that they made was unwise, but I can still love the person unconditionally, where I have a genuine interest in seeing this person be well. So by the time you get to enlightenment, Your mind has eliminated all the causes and conditions that are producing the anger and the sadness and frustration and these other discontent feelings, and you're only experiencing unconditioned mental qualities of the happiness and the joy and the peace and all these other mental states that are unconditioned. So it's a permanent mental state because there's no condition that's causing it. There's no condition that's causing the joy. So therefore, there's nothing that can be done to take that joy away. Permanent mental state.
Okay. I don't know whether or not it's the right question. I want to ask, what do you think of fate or fatalism? I think it's
fate or what?
I don't know. Fate. I don't know. It's fatalism. I don't know. This one. Fate. Yeah.
Oh, destiny.
Fate
Okay.
or destiny.
Yeah.
These days I always feel very frustrated. You know, when you are, sometimes when you are young, when you are just a child, you think, I can do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I will do a lot of things. But when you gradually, when you become 20 years old or later, you gradually understand, I cannot control. I cannot control, and I cannot change anything. I cannot control a lot of things. I remember last week I met a Fortuner, something like tarot, in Western, in West country. They say a lot. He say a lot of things in my past. Okay, they say right, but they say my past. Also, he also need to set my future, and he also say a lot of my future. My future maybe is very not good. So I also felt frustrated, and I don't know what to do. I just something like, oh damn, something not good. So what's your opinion? Thank you.
Okay, so there's no such thing as destiny. Okay, this is what people sometimes think. This is what they believe. Everything you experience in life is based on decisions that you make. There's not like some predetermined thing that's going to happen to you in your life. There's nobody that's laid out a plan for you and says, this is what this person is going to experience, and they're locked in. That's not the way life is. That what you're experiencing is cause and effect, or action and result. It's decisions that you make that lead to any particular result. Because you learned a language, or let's back it up this way. Because you decided to go to school, you learned a language. Because you learned a language, you could apply for a job. Because you applied for a job, you got an interview. By you getting an interview, you showed up to the interview and you talked to the company. When you talked to the company, they offered you a job. When they offered you a job, you accepted the job. Then you decided to go to work each day. By choosing to go to work each day, you got an income. By getting an income, you can afford a plane ticket to come to Thailand, right? So these are all cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect of decisions that you've made that have led to any particular result. That wasn't your destiny. That wasn't your fate. It was because of choices and decisions that you made that led to any particular outcome. So anything that you're experiencing, either wholesome or unwholesome, it's coming from decisions that you're making. And when you lack wisdom about the world, you will tend to make unwise decisions that lead to unwholesome results. And when those unwholesome results are coming back to you, you might blame it on other people, or you might say it's good luck or bad luck or destiny or fate. And one of the things you were mentioning is about how you can't control the world. Yeah, you can't control the world. The only thing you can control is your own mind. But if you haven't trained your mind you'll find it very difficult to actually control your own mind. But if you train your mind, you can get to the point where you can fully control it. You're not going to be able to control the outside world, but you can control the inner world. You can control your mind, how you react or respond in any situation. When your mind is unenlightened and it's untrained, you will react to things in the world, and you will tend to react through a lack of wisdom, and you will tend to make unwise decisions, and it's going to tend to produce unwholesome results for you, or unwholesome karma. But when you have wisdom, one of the things that you will do is you'll have discipline of your mind, and instead of reacting in the world, you will respond. When something happens, you just respond to that. And now when you respond, you will respond through wisdom. And now when you respond through wisdom, making wise decisions, you will experience wholesome results, or wholesome karma. But if you resign yourself to the thinking that there's destiny or fate, or that there's some future that's been laid out for you, now you will really struggle and you'll have difficulties. I'll tell you a story about this, since you brought up about fortune telling. One time I have a student that came to me, and she was in the process of ending a relationship. And she was asking me, like, what do you think? Should I end the relationship or not? And of course, I'm not going to tell somebody what they should or shouldn't do. That's not my place. I just gave them guidance about the teachings of the Buddha. But one of the things that she said is, she said, several years ago, she had went to a fortune teller, and this fortune teller told her that you were going to be meeting your soulmate in the next 6 months, and here's what this person looks like. And they gave them like this general appearance. So now this young lady went around the world looking for this guy, right? And she's looking for this guy. And after about 6 months, or almost 6 months, she finds this guy that she swears meets this description that this fortune teller has told her, right? And she ends up getting in this relationship, and she goes through this relationship, and as time goes on, this person starts to physically abuse her, and he starts to cheat on her with other women. And she was just sure that this was her soulmate, and she kept holding on and holding on and holding on to this relationship. But finally, she got enough courage to realize that, I'm going to let go of this relationship. It's no good. And she finally decided to get out of this relationship, right? And this is the problem with somebody going to a fortune teller, is they think that this person somehow knows something that they don't know. And now you get locked into believing that. And now, instead of the very first time this person hit her or punched her, choosing to walk away, or maybe the first time this person maybe cheated on her, choosing to maybe walk away from that situation or figure out something better, she stayed in this relationship for many years and experienced a lot of abuse because of it. So going to a fortune teller to hear about your past or your future is only going to condition your mind to believe that somehow your life is pre-programmed. But these people who are telling you about your past and your future, it's really unwise to do these kinds of things, because what you would like to do is be in the present moment and look at what's going on in your present moment, and let me make wise decisions right now, because your future is determined on the decisions that you're making right now. If you make unwise decisions now, it's going to produce an unwholesome future for you. But in the present moment, if you focus on the present moment, you can make wise decisions now that produces a wholesome future. But if you're always focused on the past, or you're focused on the future, you're never focused on the present moment and making wise decisions right now in the present moment. And the present moment is what's going to decide your future. There's not some pre-programmed thing that is going to dictate what you do or you don't experience in life. It's your own decisions that are leading to that. But you can't get to wise decisions in the present moment as long as you're focused on the future, or you're focused on the past, or as long as your mind has pollution. You can't make wise decisions now in the present moment. So I would encourage you to focus on the present moment, and don't believe what a fortune teller has shared with you. You don't need somebody to tell you your future. Instead, stay in the present moment, make wise decisions, and you create your future. That's what you would like to be able to do, is create a wonderful future for yourself through making wise decisions in the present moment.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you still have a mic? They won't be able to hear you online if you don't use a mic. We have a bunch of people joining us online. Yeah. There's a gray button. Just take your time, slowly, slowly. We have a word in Thai, it's cha-cha, cha-cha, slowly, slowly.
Yeah, you see me, I'm really a rush.
Yeah, that's your craving. I want this. I want to do this. That's the craving. But you can just slow down. Cha-cha, cha-cha.
Cha-cha. Yeah, thank you. I have a question. Like, I heard a sentence like everyone you met before maybe is a version of you. What do you think about this sentence?
Say again.
Like everyone you meet is a version of you.
Yeah, this isn't true. Everybody's unique. Everybody's different. Yeah. You are your own individual being with your own thoughts, your own ideas. Thinking of things like that, in my opinion, it comes from the mind's ego, thinking that other people are the same version of me. Everybody's different. Everyone's unique. And that's one of the beauties about the world. The interesting thing about the unenlightened mind is it craves permanence. But if the world was really like that, you probably wouldn't enjoy living in that kind of world. If Thailand was exactly the same as China, I think you're from China, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If Thailand was exactly the same as China, why would you ever come to Thailand? Right? Or if one friend is exactly the same as another friend, why would you ever have more than one friend, right? Everybody's exactly the same. So while the mind craves permanence and wants things to be a certain way, in reality, if we actually got that, if the world was exactly the same, we would probably feel so bored with that. So the ego is going to think that, oh, everybody else is exactly the same as me, when in reality, it's better to see the differences and the uniquenesses, not in a judgmental way, but just understand that we're all unique and we're all different. And that's wonderful about the world.
Okay. I think my question is like this, that everyone you meet is a version of you, but sometimes I meet someone, I don't think we have the same, just you said we are different. How can I say this is another version of me? I just confusing about that. Yeah,
that's not something the Buddha taught. And in my opinion, it would be very unwise to subscribe to that thinking. Like I mentioned, in my opinion, it comes from the mind's ego and the mind craving permanence, and somehow everybody's a different version of me. That's like putting me at the center of the world. Everything's about me, me, me. That's the ego. That's the arrogance. Like I'm the center of the world and everybody else is a version of me. No, that's not true. Everybody is their own unique person, their own unique being. What the teachings of the Buddha are about is about cutting through all this foo-foo stuff that we see out there in the world and be able to see true reality. There's so many misunderstandings out there in the world, and you guys are sharing some of those things, and you need to be able to see true reality, that each one of these people are very unique and very different, and that's what makes it a wonderful world. They're not a version of me. I'm not the center of the world. Everybody is their own unique being.
What you're saying is what you are.
Can you use the mic?
Everyone I see is a reflection of me. Does that make more sense to what you're asking? Because I've not heard what you've said is everybody I see is a version of me, but I've definitely heard, everybody that I meet, what I see in them is a reflection of me. Is that what you're trying to say, or am I reading something into what you're trying to say that's not there? Am I making sense? Yeah, okay, I'm reading something into what you're saying that isn't there. Fair enough. Yeah, right, carry on.
So two people have heard two different things. What's that called? Impermanence, right? It's impermanence. You're not going to hear the same things, right? This is all impermanence. You have more?
Yeah, one more question. I just thinking about that. You said your mom like yell at someone. I think this is like an unconscious behavior. Maybe your mom.
It's what behavior?
Unconsciousness.
Unconscious behavior.
Unconsciousness. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think your mom is obviously. I think your mom is a kind person most of the time, but sometimes she just maybe lost of control. She can't control the feeling. just like I said at the first, most of the time we can can't to everyone. But when the feelings like anger or sad, when the feelings comes up, we can't control the feelings anymore. That's why we call it like a loss of control. So that's what I want to know. How can we control our feelings or our behaviors when we get angry or get sad? We won't reflection our feelings to others.
Okay, how can we control the behavior when we get angry? That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
The goal of the teachings of the Buddha is to remove the causes and conditions that are producing the anger. Because once the mind's angry, that's when it becomes unskillful. But if you remove the causes and conditions that are causing the anger, now you can just be polite, kind, friendly, respectful all the time to everybody. So it's not whether my mom was kind or polite or what have you, because by the time she died, she was loving and kind. But she was experiencing was her cravings, her desires, her longing, her yearning, her craving for permanence. She wanted things to be a certain way, just like every other human being in the unenlightened state. What my mom experienced is the same thing that you experience. Because your mind is currently unenlightened, you're craving permanence. So as long as the mind craves permanence, when it gets what it wants, it'll get happy. When it doesn't get what it wants, it gets those painful feelings like anger, sadness, and frustration. And that's where the mind becomes unskillful. But if you remove the causes and conditions, if you remove the craving, desire, attachment, if you eliminate the longing, yearning from the mind, now you understand in permanence that, sometimes I'm going to order at McDonald's and you're going to get all your food. And that's the way that it's going to happen most of the time. But because of impermanence, in some situations, someone's going to forget one of your items on your plate or on your tray. And that doesn't mean we have to be bitter, harsh, and hostile. If we understand impermanence and we don't crave permanence, when we see that a certain food item is missing on our tray, if we don't crave permanence and we understand this is normal, of course somebody didn't put a certain food item on the tray. This is just impermanence. The world is full of impermanence. And now all I need to do is politely ask this person, excuse me, ma'am, I think I might have ordered a French fry, but I don't see it on the tray. Is it possible for us to take a look and see if I can get my French fries? Problem solved. Over, right? It's no big deal. But when your mind's craving permanence and you don't see those French fries, now the person thinks that, let me yell and holler and get what I want. And this is just from the craving. It's not about whether someone is a kind person or not. It's about whether the mind has got these pollutions or not. If the mind has these pollutions, it will function unskillfully. But when the mind eliminates these pollutions, you can be skillful in all situations. All right. Let me see if we have any other questions. Oh, we have more? Oh, okay.
Hi,
yes,
Master.
sir. Yep.
I'm just wondering that you're saying cutting off a lot of feelings from us, like most thoughts, the feelings are negative, like sadness, depression, frustration, or angry, right? But still the Buddha reminds some feelings, like mercy, right? Yeah, he will see the homeless person on the land outside, he may show the mercy. So the Buddha still reminds some feelings, but I'm just wondering, is that in the Buddha's perspective or in his view, all the creatures on the earth equal or share the same rights? For example, for like a wolf, he can catch a sheep or eat a sheep. That's the natural law, right? But sometimes a wolf or a tiger, he can catch a human, catch a kid too, right? So if a Buddha see a wolf or a tiger, he catch a kid, catch a human, should a Buddha or a person who believes in Buddha stop it? Because maybe that's kind of natural law. Or maybe we put the human the first position on the natural. Maybe human is itself, he own a law beyond the natural law. What do you think? Is all the creature equal on the earth?
Yeah, so the Buddha taught equality among all beings. He didn't have a pecking order. This is what happens when there's conceit in the mind, when there's arrogance and ego, then the mind has a pecking order, where in the animal realm, there is a pecking order. Because if we were elephants and we didn't know who the matriarch of our herd was, we wouldn't survive. We need to know who's the leader of our elephant herd, because she's going to show us the migration paths, the watering holes, where the food is. We needed to have a pecking order in the animal world. When we were a pack of wolves, we needed to know who's the alpha male and who's the alpha female, because they're going to train us how to hunt and how to survive. They're the ones who are breeding. So if we didn't know who the alpha male and alpha female were in our pack of wolves, we would have never survived. But when we come into this human world, our mind oftentimes holds on to this conceit, and now we're looking for a pecking order. And when we go into a social situation, we're looking for who's above us and who's below us. But what the Buddha teaches you in order to get to enlightenment is to eradicate that type of thinking, eradicate that pollution, where you just look at everybody as being equal. Because when your mind thinks of everybody as being equal, now you won't talk down to people, right? But also the other thing people can sometimes do is they can put themselves below somebody. Like if you have a boss or maybe like a favorite celebrity or a politician, you might be so nervous and so shaken up when you're around this person because you feel like you're below them. But in other situations, you might put yourself above people and you might talk down to people. But what you would like to do is eradicate that conceit out of the mind, where you just view everybody as equal. So these feelings that the mind experiences, the conditional feelings, you don't need those in the mind. But what you will need, what you described as mercifulness, I will describe as compassion. What you need is a mental state of compassion, where you have concern for the misfortune of others. There's also a mental state of loving kindness that you're going to need in your mind, which is a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. And when you walk around the world, seeing yourself as equal, everybody's equal. And then when you see someone having misfortune, you have concern for their misfortune. It doesn't say that you're going to actually do something about it. That's up to you to decide. In some situations, you might do something. In other situations, you might not. But you need to at least have the mental quality that you have concern for the misfortune of others. And this is part of what the Buddha taught that's going to help you to get to this peaceful and joyful mental state. Because if you have that pecking order in your mind, you're not going to get to a peaceful and joyful mental state. Or if you walk around where you're indifferent, where you could care less about other people's misfortunes, you're not going to be able to experience enlightenment there either. But when you can get rid of that conceit and you see everybody as equal and you have concern for the misfortune of others, now you can relate to all beings harmoniously in a loving and kind and warm way.
Thank you, Master.
You're welcome. More questions? You guys started off, you didn't have any questions. Now you have all kinds of questions. It just takes one person to break the ice. So there was a bunch of people here, and now some people have left. What's that called? What's that called? Impermanence, right? Not everybody is going to stay the whole time, right? Whereas if my mind craves permanence, I'd be upset when people walked out the door, right? People have other things to do. Maybe they would like to go eat. Maybe they would like to go on a tour. Maybe they would like to go get a massage. Who knows what they would like to do? There's so many wonderful things here in Thailand to do, right? So whenever your mind's craving permanence, you'll get upset or angry or frustrated. Someone might even think it's rude or impolite to walk out when someone's speaking. No, it's not rude. It's not impolite. Someone just has something else they need to do, and that's their choice to be able to do that, right? So you can get to the point where you understand this world is impermanent and people are going to be constantly coming and going, and that's normal, okay? So what I'm going to do is just end class by thanking all of you guys for coming. I appreciate you guys being interested to learn the teachings of the Buddha. Thank you for your questions. If you guys would like to learn more, I teach here on Sundays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. And normally I have a scheduled talk where I'll actually teach you in depth. And we have various courses and retreats that you guys can learn. You can find out all this information on our bulletin board. You can find it out on our website. And you can also come talk to me and I'll be able to help you to understand. So have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day, whatever you do. Take care and be well. Okay? Sawadee Kap. Chai Chien. Bye-bye. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.